Hey, Sassy Stuff, what's up? I'm Molly, back with Emma. This week we're talking all things super regionals in the SEC softball world. Obviously, we're in the national championship regionals. We're getting into these playoff games. It's the best of three. Emma, hit us with some facts. How was this weekend for our teams?
Well, you know what? We have 9 teams advancing to super regionals, which is amazing. But we did have 2 crazy upsets, which was Texas A&M, who was the number 1 overall seed. This is the first number 1 seed in NCAA history to miss super regionals, so that's bad. They lost to Liberty 6-5 in a dramatic 8-hour doubleheader, and then they rallied to win game one in extras, then lost a 3-0 lead in game two. Rachel Rope was Liberty's star. She had 2 home runs, including the game winner, and after an outstanding 47-10 season, it was a shocking and emotional end for the Aggies, especially since they are co-SEC champions with Oklahoma. So now I'm like, I kind of wish we saw what happened in that OU Texas A&M game, because maybe Texas A&M would have been the solo SEC champion, and then they obviously lost out here to Liberty. So that was kind of crazy that they aren't advancing to super regionals.
I just try not to look at that champion as a dictator of who's going to win and the national contender, just because, you know, hiccups happen, bad games happen, and I think, Texas A&M has been on fire. And if you even look at the baseball breakdown of Texas A&M, the reason why University of Texas baseball has done so well is because they stole the coach from Texas A&M. So Texas A&M on baseball and softball has been just thriving throughout these last 4 years. But obviously, I think looking at this, I think we're looking at teams that are starting to crack under pressure. We're under these three game, 3 game contenders, and so it's getting really dicey, and we're getting so close to those final games and the final weeks here. And I just think when I'm looking at the statistics and I'm looking at all the teams, I'm still putting my money on Oklahoma just because, I mean, they have been here for the last 4 years over and over. And I just think that they're having a great year, and they don't seem to be hiccuping as much as these other teams are.
And then obviously, LSU also lost. They were the 10th overall seed. They lost twice to Southern Louisiana in the Baton Rouge Regional. This is the third time in 4 years that LSU failed to make it past regional. It was a walk-off loss in game two after a back and forth scoring. Coach Beth's squad continues to fall short despite a strong recruiting for the program. So, I mean, that's disappointing with LSU as well. They played very well this season. Obviously, 10th overall seed, but they're not advancing to super regionals. So that's super, super sad for them as well. But you know what? We have 9 teams advancing in the SEC. The game I'm most excited for and also scared for is going to be that Oklahoma Alabama game. Oklahoma's ranked second, Alabama 15th. Oklahoma, they just breezed through regionals. They outscored opponents 31-3. They're looking for their 5th straight national title, which is an NCAA record. Alabama escaped a tough Virginia Tech squad, wins of 4-3 and 3-2. Here, OU's powerful offense, it's going to be against Bama's gritty pitching. Caitlin Riley has been amazing for this team. Now, Alabama faces a juggernaut here because OU is just a sensational team. I just don't know if they're going to defeat the reigning champions.
I wouldn't count Alabama out because they are a team of grit. And I know that Oklahoma has really been on their stuff recently, and I'm super proud of them for that. However, you just don't know. Like, a travel day could go bad, like a
Yeah.
night's sleep, like a bad breakfast. I mean, you really don't
You
know.
see what
Like,
happened to Texas A&M. So
yes, yes, there could be a hiccup. And that's why I always say, like, even if they're the SEC champion, co-champion, you really just don't know.
I mean, if Alabama can really get an early lead, shake up OU's rhythm, I think we can get a 3-game series here. But the Sooners are really dialed in. I mean, they scored 30 plus runs in regionals, barely broke a sweat. Alabama is certainly battle tested, but OU is this dynasty in motion right now. So it's going to be a very tough road for the Crimson Tide. I'm not gonna pick against my team, but I am worried.
Do you want me and Georgia to do some voodoo and make sure they have a bad
Yes.
sister
Get your
somewhere?
gymnastics voodoo going and make it happen for Alabama.
Okay, Emma, how are you feeling about Florida and Georgia this week?
I think Florida is in a really good spot right now. They handled their regional easy. They're aiming for a really deep run in the NCAA tournament. Georgia did upset number 14 Duke in a thrilling 5-2 extra inning finale. The Bulldogs are 3-1 in regionals. They haven't faced Florida this season though, and Florida has been amazing. Georgia is 34-21 overall, but just 3-8 versus top 10 teams. So right now, we're looking at momentum with Georgia versus consistency with Florida. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup because Georgia is hot right now after knocking out Duke. And I think they're more confident in tight games, but Florida has just been consistent and they're tougher at home. So I am picking Florida here. I think Florida is really going to knock this out of the park.
I think Florida, like you said, is such a consistent team, especially at home, that I gotta go with Florida because I think Georgia has had quite the amount of hiccups. Like at one point in the season, they were like number 17. Like they really haven't been consistent. And I think, consistency is key when we're talking about athletics. And so I think for this one, I'm gonna have to go with Florida. And like I said, they've always kind of been on the back burner of that top five. So I really do, but you know what? You never know. Georgia could really upset this one. It's not that far off for them to win, so you never know.
We love upsets. Upsets are always fun in sports in general.
It's fun
I'm
too.
not expecting an upset with Arkansas versus Ole Miss though, because Arkansas has been on fire. They went 3-0 in regionals, including a 12 to nothing shoutout against OK State. Ole Miss did upset Arizona in Tuscan. They took 2 of 3 from the 13 seed. These teams did play in March. Ole Miss won 2 of 3, but Arkansas won game three, 20-3. I am expecting Arkansas to win big here. I expect them to make a deep run in this tournament. They have a deeper roster. Obviously, Bree Ellis is the best player I've seen this year. I've just loved watching her this season.
She's been outstanding. Like, I think she's so talented, and I think the great thing about each of these teams is that they kind of have that star player, and I really like that she is theirs because she is just killing it. Like, they are one of my favorite teams to watch right now playing in these regionals, and so, I predict that Arkansas is gonna be the least talked about team during this time. However, they're probably gonna be the most consistent and the most successful in this one.
Next, we're going to talk about Tennessee versus Nebraska. I mean, the Vols cruised through regionals 17-0 over Miami. They also have SEC's Pitcher of the Year in Pickens. She's had 252 strikeouts, so she's been absolutely sensational this year. Tennessee's goal is to reach the WCWS for the first time since 2023. Pickens has been extremely dominant. Tennessee hasn't allowed more than 2 runs in any game this postseason. Now, Nebraska's good, but Jordan Ball alone won't be enough to carry them past this pitching staff. So I think this could be a lower scoring series, but I think the Tennessee Bulls are really going to pull this one out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm rooting for the wrong UT here. I'm a huge fan of hers, and she's actually, like, local to where I grew up, so, I mean, I think I have to root for her in the long run. I think she's great.
Next, let's talk about South Carolina. They are playing UCLA. South Carolina quietly put together a really strong regional run, but UCLA is a powerhouse. It's going to be their toughest test yet. So, South Carolina has been super solid, but UCLA has a postseason pedigree and a deeper bench. So, I am not super confident in the Gamecocks. They've taken major strides this season as a program, but they really need everything to go right now because UCLA is just such an incredible team in the softball community. So I'm not going to pick against them because they are one of our SEC teams, but I think this is going to be a really tough game for South Carolina.
I do have to say I'm probably gonna pick UCLA in this one just because their record this year, they've been consistent. I mean, they had a great year last year. I think they do really well under pressure, and so, I I do see them advancing in this one, which is upsetting. Sorry, Gamecock fans. I don't see this one going so well.
And finally, let's talk about your Texas team. They are playing Clemson. Texas has really been locked in during regionals. They've been here before. Carvin gives them an edge in the circle. Clemson definitely has talent, but Texas has grit, experience. They just played the gauntlet that is the SEC, not only in season, but also in the SEC tournament. So I think we'll be seeing them in Oklahoma City again. It's going to be a big we've arrived moment with them being in the SEC for the first year, and hopefully making it back to Oklahoma City. That would just be amazing for them. They have such an incredibly strong team. It could be a cool matchup if we see Oklahoma and Texas in there again at the end. So we'll see.
We will see. I was really crossing my fingers in the last, little bit of the SEC championship when Texas A&M played Texas. I was like, come on, I just want to play Oklahoma, just to give it to Joshua Morrow. But I ultimately this is a good matchup. I'm excited for this one. And it's funny because it's Clemson. I feel like is if you grew up in the Southeast, is kind of everybody's local team. You go to any Target between the Carolinas or Georgia, there's like Clemson stuff everywhere. So this is kind of fun for me because it's like a nostalgic feeling for me, even though we've been Texas fans since I was a kid. I'm really looking forward to it. But I think Mike White has a great head on his shoulders. I think he leads these girls to greener pasture, and I think that this is going to be a fantastic last few games for these girls.
Yeah. And so looking at that, I think we're looking at Oklahoma, Florida, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Texas that we're picking to advance to Oklahoma City. I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma, Texas was the final matchup or Oklahoma, Florida was the final matchup. But I mean, anything can happen. We saw what happened with Texas A&M. So, I mean, this is going to be a really, really fun weekend to see who makes it past Super Regionals.
I agree.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to watch the games this weekend. See who makes it all the way past Super Regionals. We'll be watching. Let us know your favorites on who you think will take it all in the end and who will advance past this weekend. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.